Welcome to A Matter of Music. I'm Dawn Wisner-Johnson.
And I'm Beth Wisner-Jansen.
And we are here to help you navigate through this crazy business of music with ideas, tools, and education. And we're happy today to have a guest with us, but Beth is going to tell you a little bit about A Matter of Music prior to that.
So yeah, we at Matter of Music do a lot of things. We do some of these podcasts. We have classes. Our class right now is on sync, and we have another one coming up in January for the do-it-yourself musician. And we also have something on Friday, a Zoom called Lunch and Listen, where Don will listen to some of your music. You can check out everything we're up to at amatterofmusic.com.
Okay, so we have Steve Hindalong here with us today. Once again, he's a friend of ours. I know we say that a lot, but as he has been, we've all been in the business quite a while. So we're very happy to have many friends that can bring a lot to the podcast and give you guys some tips on what they've done in their careers. And so Steve is one of those. Wow, I think I met Steve in college, but we won't go into that as it's a Pacific University. But we actually met for real as bands together on a label in the 80s. His band was The Choir, mine was Crumbacher, and we were label mates and met that way. That's how I saw Steve enter into the music industry. And from there, he went on, moved to Nashville, became a producer for bands, released an amazing album that one of the songs I know was #1 in many places. And so he has a lot of producing credits, a lot of credits all over the board as an artist. What were we going to say, Beth?
Songwriting.
Songwriting. I'm getting to that.
Oh, you're not there yet.
He called himself, and I'm interested he didn't say this, and on one of his socials I found drum banger, bell clanger, lantern hanger, a fellow sojourner weaving in and out of the shadows. And I know where that came from, but we'll talk about that later. You don't mention songwriting, but I would say lyricists and songwriting lyrics are probably his forte, although he's an amazing drummer as well. So you're going to hear about that today. And so I would like to introduce Steve Hindalong. Thank you for being here.
Hey guys, good to see you again. It's been so long.
It has been.
It seemed like we used to hang out all the time, and then I don't know why. I guess our worlds went different ways to spin and plan it. But it's good to see you guys.
You too. I got no money for plane ticket.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You are living in Nashville, right, Steve?
I've been here 27 years. We came here in '93.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You did.
Yeah.
You did. Before we get into why you moved, because I'll ask you that in a while, let's start at the beginning. I want to know a little bit about how you got into music, and I'm talking about even as a child. Where did music or lyrics or whatever you were interested in, where did that start for you, or how old were you? How did that happen?
Wow, I don't remember. I almost don't remember not being. My dad was a drummer in high school and stuff, so he had some drums around, and I think I was 8 years old when I dressed up for Halloween as a Revolutionary Soldier, and I had a drum. And my dad taught me his high school cadences, which I could play right now. I could play them right now. Hold on a minute. Yeah. So these are his drumsticks. See these tenor drumsticks that my dad had at Venice High School in 1957, I think he had these. Anyway, my dad, I got it. I had a rhythm, and I wanted to. I got a snare drum for my birthday when I was 9, and then a woman that was staying at our house for a while taught me how to play the guitar when I was 11, and so I started learning how to write songs. And I liked that. It was the 70s, and so I liked the whole folk songwriters. A good time to be learning how to play guitar and start writing songs, because you had Joni Mitchell and Neil Young and James Taylor and all that. And so yeah, I just started, and then I would get in a band, and I was a good church youth group kid. So I would always be in a little group playing at church from the time I was 13.
So many musicians start in church, don't they?
Yes, it's a warm audience. You know, it's an audience that knows who your parents are, and they cheer for you. They want you to do good, and if you get a little band, you got a place to play. You know, and then it's encouraging. So, yes, a lot of people start there, and those were my first songs. I was writing 12, 13 years old, and just singing on if I could play on Sunday night with my friends. So beyond that, from that point on, I do not remember not being in a band. I'm sure I was in a band from then on of some kind. Yeah. And interestingly, I was I saw myself as a little poet kid. You know, I guess I was in touch with my feminine side, you know, the start. Now I'm perfectly okay with that. But so I started being the guy that writes the words. I wanted to be the guy that plays the drums and writes the words. Way back, and like when I was say 12 or something like that. And isn't that funny? I still am. I'm one of the only guys you'll ever meet that is done my whole life what I kind of wanted to do from the start.
Yeah, I don't want to be the lead singer. I don't want to be the guitar player. I want to be the lyricist, the drummer.
I wanted to play the guitar good enough to co-write the songs.
Right.
Play along and go, okay, what are those chords? I could go home and work on it and come back and go, man, I got this idea for a bridge or whatever, but I didn't need to play the guitar proficiently. And I still don't care about that. I want to participate in the songwriter process. That guitar is a tool for me for that, but I want to be good at percussion and drums and write good songs, good lyrics. Yeah.
So was your first successful band the choir?
I don't think that we were a successful band. That's kind of weird. You call us a successful band, the choir? That's hilarious.
You were nominated for a Grammy at one point.
Well, see, there you go. What's the measure of your success?
Well, what's the measure of yours? We think you're a successful band, and you apparently have some issues.
Well, don't we all have issues? You don't have any issues?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm just dragging them across the razor right now, just like.
Well, that is the question. I mean, if you're going to keep playing, that question of what's the measure of your success is so important. And to me, the fact that people are carrying songs that I've written or co-written in their hearts, and they've carried them in their hearts for decades, that's my success, my greatest success. So yeah, the choir is very successful in that way, because we just finished our 19th album, and it's not a lot of people. We never had commercial success. No, we never did.
So I remember a time, Steve, when your band toured with a very successful Christian artist, and you did not consider yourselves a Christian band at that point anymore, but I believe your label probably put you on that tour. And how did that go?
I'm not sure what you're talking about. Are you talking about when we toured for Russ Taff with Russ Taff?
Russ Taff, yes.
It was a great artist. Great.
Yes.
Well, you know, we wrestled with that. We found out pretty early on. Now, it's nobody's fault because we came out of that context. I told you I came out of, I was a church kid, and we started out on a label that was considered a Christian label. It was, and we were on Word Records of all things. But I just didn't like writing those kind of songs. I wanted to write about just what was going on, whatever I felt. I didn't want music to be a tool. I wanted it to be an expression and just to reflect our lives. And so we quit writing those kind of songs, and there was no way we could be marketed in a genre, in a world that's whole basis of success is selling the religious agenda. Or not, I shouldn't say agenda, or whatever. Maybe that's the wrong word.
The message, you were being asked to write a specific message, right?
Right. What Jesus, who he is and what he did, is what is for sale. And you've got to market that to people. And we didn't want to do that. Whether, you know, I didn't want to write those kind of words. I wanted to talk about, I think I might be on the verge of divorce here. I want to talk about it, or whatever it was. My kid was born. I have a kid born. I want to talk about my new little girl. or whatever it is. My dog just died. I'm really bummed. I want to write a song about Old King or whatever. Just want to write about what I feel and not. And so, and our lives had enough turmoil, like most people's do, and it didn't make sense that we would be considered a Christian band. And so, very early on, we were in trying to be marketed, and it was impossible for us to be marketed. And so, to that audience. Now, a lot of here we are, 35 years later. We started in 1985, so it's been 35 years, right? Is that right?
Yeah.
My math
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And a lot of those people have been with us, have followed us the whole
Right.
way. We have
Right.
people that have been with us for all those decades, and that's wonderful. And that's where we came from. I'm at peace with it now, most of the time. But yeah, from the very start, we knew that we were misfits, and we didn't want to be a
Yeah.
Christian band. But yet we played a lot of places we played in churches, we played at festivals like the Cornerstone Festival. Who's the Cornerstone? Jesus is the Cornerstone. We played at these festivals, and it was a good audience, a warm audience. And we just found, well, we'll just be ourselves, and we'll play wherever we can play. And if they still want us to play there, we will. But we're just going to say what we want to say, and play and make the records that we want to hear. And that's what we've done for all these decades.
Isn't that what art is anyway?
And I saw this from Anne Rice, and it was her son. Her son is also a writer, and he was talking about how when he started out, he said his mom said to him, "Write the book you want to read."
Mhm.
And I thought to myself, yeah, make the record you want to hear.
Mhm.
Paint the painting you want to see and hang on your own wall. Make the food that you want to eat and share it. That's the greatest message to do. Like, if you try to make art for people's expectations, you just set yourself up for failure. But if you make art that you yourself appreciate, then that is success.
Right.
Don't you think?
I remember walking through a museum in Chicago and seeing, I can't remember the painter's name right now, and seeing, it was Salvador Dali, and being like just appalled at what I was looking at, but forcing myself to look at it, to try to hear what he was telling me, even though I didn't like the message, simply because I knew he was authentic. I could tell by the painting. What he was telling me was authentic, even though I didn't like it. That was irrelevant because it's authentic. People are really creating that authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Dali. I remember the first time I saw Dali. I was in San Francisco, and there was him, and I remember the guy that was running the place. What do you call the guy that shows people around?
Curator.
That's the one. That's the word. And he backs me up and he grabs my head. I was 16 years old, and he grabs my head and he goes, "Don't you see it? Don't you see? Do you see that?" And it was a Dali painting, and I was like, "No, I don't see it. Come on!" And he got mad at me. And then all of a sudden, I saw what it was he wanted me to see.
Mm.
But it was so fascinating, Dali. And then he was like, "This guy, you should, if you have any money at all ever, you should buy one of these because they're going to be worth a lot of money when he dies." Anyway.
That's crazy. Wow.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Anyway.
So that's really good advice. I just have to say, for our listeners, we get sidetracked a lot of times with our business. And one thing I do try to say, because I'm in the sync side and all of that, and there's many writers who try to write for television, but that is the one thing I've said to them, exactly what you just said. If you are authentic, the music supervisors are going to hear that. And
interesting.
And they like the authentic artists. They'll use some of the other stuff, but when they hone in on somebody who's authentic, it's like very important to the music supervisors as well that they use somebody that is authentic in that
That's
world.
Interesting.
Yeah. It is true. I would say, you might not believe that about the business, but I've seen them say that many times because most of those people, most of us who work in the business are musicians. There's some reason we're here in this business because we've been doing, a lot of us have done it for many years. So,
right.
And we can hear that. And we hear that in the choir. I listened to Bloodshot. You had me laughing out loud at the The California, what is it? What is the title?
Californians on Ice. Californians on Ice. It's so fun to sing that song all over the country. It's hilarious to sing it, be in Minnesota and sing about Californians on Ice. Because that's kind of what the song is about, how we moved to Tennessee. Although Tennessee is pretty moderate compared to a lot of places. We do get snow and we get weather compared to Southern Cal. And it was a hard adjustment to us. And
it was a hard adjustment. Now, I have to say, writing a song about Californians on Ice and having it equate to your life in the move, but it not specifically being about that. I'm going to ask you more questions about lyrics, but it's brilliant the way you wrote that song.
Leo went down hard on his frozen driveway. His feet shot straight up to the sky. I was wishing someone caught it on videotape, but it's sad to see a grown man cry. Californians on ice, Southern Californians going nowhere faster. Californians sliding on ice. It's an unmitigated disaster. If you find a polar bear in the Sahara, suffering under the sun, send up a flare and offer a prayer for iguanas in Antarctica. Californians on ice, Southern Californians going nowhere faster. Californians sliding on ice. It's an unmitigated disaster.
Because a lot of our songs are so earnest and serious and heavy, and I try to throw in some levity. If I can make people laugh once or twice on I love that without being too silly, but a little levity, why not?
Every once in a while, you got to do that.
Yeah.
These days that we're going through right now, we need to laugh at ourselves and about everything, I think. So
absolutely.
Don't be so serious. So I want to go through just a timeline real quick of this. So you were in California, speaking of Californians on Ice, in the 80s, but then you ended up moving to Nashville. How did that move come about, or what?
Why did you move to Nashville? Why?
Yeah. Well, we were just trying to survive. It got so difficult in California. I had little girls who were 5 and 3, and we just I couldn't make a living, even the economy got really bad in California. I was doing everything. I was doing construction work and selling things door to door and roofing and anything I could do in between touring and the studio, because it really didn't pay. The music didn't pay, and I couldn't do anything, and I just couldn't survive. And the music business really migrated at that time. The business that we were in, a lot of the labels moved out to Nashville and they shut down. So basically, it was just, let's go to Nashville. It was more affordable. You could buy a house very reasonably there at the time. So a lot of people migrated there at that time. And then I guess they still are. Californians are going everywhere, right? Californicating every place, but
I'm one of the only ones that moved to Nashville and escaped. I escaped back.
Oh, you did?
We were only there for 3 years. Yeah, I didn't want to go. I didn't want to go.
Oh.
Yeah, we were there from 94 to 97.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, but then I came out here and I thought, well, there'll probably be more, the economy will healthier. And I didn't think I would make it in music. I just thought maybe I could get another construction job or some kind of work. I didn't know what to do. But we just went for it. And then I couldn't find anything else to do there either. So I just started finding bands to produce. I would go to clubs, I would watch bands, and I'd get their cassette or whatever. And then I would listen to them, and then I'd go see them again. I'd go, man, the 7th song or the second to last song on the backside is so awesome. I would let them know that I listened, because I know this. I don't want everyone's going to tell me, talk about the first song on the album or the first 2 or 3 songs. The person that comes to me and says something about the song that's deep in the album, then I know they listened to it. So I would just try to win the hearts of bands because I had to get a band in the studio and get them signed or something so I could make another $1,000 or something, you know, or whatever it was. And that's what I did. I just, in the 90s, in my 30s, just found bands, and I was in the studio. I managed to do that. And there was all low budget stuff, but I did it because I had to. And I was able to do that in Nashville. And people, because Nashville is central, it's a place you could travel. You could come from Atlanta. You could find a band in Atlanta. They come to Nashville. You could band in Texas, or people could drive and get to you.
I think when I was there, I think somebody said it was within like an 8-hour drive of almost 75% of the population of the United States.
Right. I think that's why it's such a music hub, because you can't tour from California. You got to get all the way across the mountains.
Right.
And then when we go west, we get to, what do? You got to go, you can go up north and you start down in San Diego or whatever. You can start in Arizona or whatever and go all the way up to Seattle, but then what?
You got to just drive home.
Drive 2,000 miles home. So if you can't drive a circle, it's so hard to do a circular tour, whereas in Nashville, you can make all kinds of circles. But yes, but that's the way, but it comes
as
to
the freeway system tells you, the streets.
Right, but it's the same thing with the studio and having access to each other. So it was a better, and I ended up producing a lot of bands, and I loved it. I loved that all through the 90s.
I have a question. Were you producing for your own band yet at that point?
Yeah, we self-produced. Other than from, I think the last record somebody produced was Charlie Peacock produced our album in 1986.
Second one,
our
right?
second album on work. Yeah. And then we self-produced from then on.
Right.
Yeah, we did.
And since you're on producing, I had a couple questions about that. Do you have, I know this because I've been in the studio with you when you produced an artist for us, for Take Two Productions, but I know there's a process for you because you have processes in the way you work, but what was your process, or how did you get a process for that when you were finding these bands, as far as introducing yourself to the band, to how that worked for you, just for some producers who might be listening?
Well, I let them, I wanted to see, some producers are different. Some producers want to get a band in and they'll replace the drummer with somebody else, or use session guys or whatever. I never ever did that. I wanted the band to believe in themselves. You know, I wanted to, for example, I'm not sure even, the question is so big and broad, I'm not sure how to
sorry, just talk
where to begin, but I just wanted them to be excited about who they are, what their own identity was, and I wanted to find, I always like, once I was going to produce their record, because most of the time it was because they knew my band and they were familiar with my band and had enough respect for me that I could have the conversation with them, and so it wasn't like they didn't know me from anywhere. Usually they were glad that I was at their show and so forth. So, but when I got in the studio, I would, for one thing, with the drummer, because I'm a drummer, and I wanted the drummer to feel really good about himself, because a drummer has to play good, you got to be confident in yourself. If you don't have any confidence, then your kick foot's not going to even work. I know what that's like. I've been intimidated before, and I can't play when I'm intimidated. Enough pressure and excitement and urgency that you get, your mind is spinning and you try your best, but you got to feel great about yourself. So I would never hit a drum. I would never even go and hit their drum at all, other than to tune it, help them tune. But I wouldn't play a beat or anything, because I'm not the drummer, you're the drummer. And I would always be, man, I dig your style. I love this. And I would really build up the drummer right away, so that we would be brothers, rhythm brothers. And he would know it's not, you don't have to be embarrassed in front of me. I'd be like really quick, like, man, I could never do that beat. How do you do that, or whatever? So I would really build up guys' esteem a lot. But then once you do that, then you can be brutally honest too, and say, man, this lyric is like, what are you doing? Tell me, I'm cold and wet falls the snow. I'm like, why are you wasting anyone's time? telling me that the snow is cold and wet, and why didn't you say it's white too? You know, why even have any lyrics at all? Why even have any lyrics at all? Can't you tell me something about the snow that is not completely obvious? Wow. You know, anyway. Being a
Build them
producer,
up,
the job,
tear them down.
yeah, the job of the producer is to find things that are wrong. All day long, you're saying, hey, the kick drum isn't going along with the bass rhythm. Or are you check your tuning, please? Or something, or you're singing flat, you're singing sharp, you're whatever, you're criticizing all day long. The
That's why
song
you're
needs a
there.
bridge. That's why you're there. They hire you. If you don't do that, if you're just there to kiss their ass, then why would they give you money for that? So you have to like be making changes all the time and finding out what's wrong with what they're doing all the time. So it can become a real negative experience if you're not real careful to balance that with affirmation. It's really psychology. It's like in
I
the
was going to
studio.
say
It's like
you're very much, you get into people's brains, and I know that's something you enjoy doing, even when you're not producing. As
what are you
somebody
talking
who's
about?
been on the receiving end of it, I'm just going to say that.
Okay,
I know you
all
well
right.
enough to know that. I'm saying you're like a parent. You're kind of parenting them, but you're also kind of a Svengali in a way. So you know, but that's one of the reasons I think you're a great producer, is because you go in knowing that. And you know, in the session, I remember when we came in with Dominique, and she was terrified. This girl was just terrified to go into a real studio with real producers, and you know, and you guys, you know, you just kind of, you made her feel at ease and comfortable. And you know, it wasn't just a ripping down, it was just a slight correction, just a slight, you can do this better, that was great, you can, you know, it was the encouragement part that
Right.
It sounds like you're saying, you know, it depends, I guess, on the relationship you have with the band, which is what you work on first.
Right. Yeah. It's a very much a relationship, and I'm most happy with. I mean, a lot of these guys, I'm still friends, and what I want is like I want them to still like their record in 5 years, and if they like their record at 20 years later, and do you still like the record we made together? Oh, we still love it. You know. Oh, well, then that's success. Almost nothing sells. Almost nothing makes anybody any money. Almost nobody stays in a band. They're only in a band for 3-4 years. They're off doing other things. But if they like the record we made together, man, that is success to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's more
awesome.
secure. We're talking. That's the theme of this conversation. What's your success? But
Yes.
but like for example, the guys in the Prayer Chain, they're a band I worked with, and still we just have great love for each other after all these years and appreciation, and that's so. What a great reward that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really awesome. Now, when I was looking up your producing credits, there's a lot of them. I'm sure they're not all there. I know they're not all there because you've done so much, but man, your performing credits as well. You've performed a lot as a drummer.
I've played
Haven't
a lot
you?
of tambourine. I've got my 10,000 hours. You know how they say that, you know, you got to get 10,000 hours in on something to be like an expert. I got my 10,000 hours in tambourine. I'll tell you, I can shake the tambourine in both hands just as good. I'm like the happiest when I'm on stage shaking the tambourine like a monkey, you know, in a tree, you know, just it's I've just played mostly session work I've done is percussion more than drum set.
Okay.
In this town, like it's tough being a session player. Whoa, you know how good the guys are here in Nashville.
Yeah.
So I'm not at that. I'm a good rock and roll band drummer for my band. I'm really happy about the drumming I've done for the choir, but I don't want to get called to play a session in this town. Drum set, you know.
Cool, you're in.
No, thank you. I'll be under the hot white light. I'd rather be, you know, you're like under the hot white light, man. It's too much pressure. But percussion, let me do that.
But we called you from LA to do drums, and those took everything up a notch, I just have to say. So
what was
you know
that?
what I'm talking about for ABC television. For ABC with Chris Ryan.
Some of her sons.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
We
I
still
enjoyed that.
listen back to those tracks, and they're the best ones as far as drums go.
What a great world we live in that you can do that from across the country now.
Right. That was fun, and those are good songs. What helps? It sure does help when it's a good song. That's the real key, you know. Chris Ryan had great songs, and so that makes everybody play good, sound good when they play.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, you know, when you're in Nashville, I understand what you're saying. That's definitely a session player town. But to us out in LA, we don't, if we do have the session players, they charge even more than Nashville. And they're not, some of them aren't as good.
Guys.
So
Yeah.
Sorry, LA.
We all moved to Nashville. Everybody moved.
No, I've played plenty of drum sessions in my life, but you know what I'm saying. It's just,
yeah.
I do.
If they're going to call you, you'd rather you're happier if it's for percussion. That's your lane.
What I'm saying,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Hey, Steve, in preparing for this, I heard you say something about percussion, and it was very interesting to me about the specific style of percussion that you do play and what you don't play sometimes in percussion. You know what I'm talking about?
Well,
I want you to explain it.
I'm not sure what you're talking about. I don't really play Latin percussion that much.
Okay, yeah.
I play more what I think African and Middle Eastern stuff I've gathered. I'm not a conventional player at all. I'm just like a rock and roll drummer that over the years learned how to bang on stuff. So there's some things I will not play because it's just disrespectful. Oh, for instance, tablas, they're Indian, you know, but there's people that spend their life perfecting the art of how to play tablas. It's almost religious, and maybe it is, but I won't do it because it needs to be done. It needs to be honored. There was a guy who produced a little bit, a band called Caveman's Call, and Garrett Buell was their percussion player, and he could do it right. And I was like, play the tablas, dude. You know how to do it. Another thing is an Irish baron. I've got one on my wall, and they got that technique with a stick. And I won't play it because I've never learned that proper technique to play a baron. So I don't know why. I guess there's still time. I can learn how, but I just feel that needs to be honored. But are you getting at the fact that I won't play a tambourine that's made out of plastic and misshapen? That a tambourine needs to be round in wood? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, no, I think you alluded to it. You said that there's certain players that play a certain style. Yeah.
I mean, seriously, those half moon shaped plastic tambourines.
Those are for church.
Oh, they just should be thrown into a heap and melted down. It's not, they're meant to be wooden and round.
Are you laughing at me?
No one would do that. No,
I played in 2005. It wasn't mine.
Don, you have issues. We're not even talking about you. Don's just bringing up stuff. She's feeling things.
He's talking about a tambourine, and I remember.
He doesn't even remember what you said in interviews that you're bringing up. He doesn't remember what you did.
It should be wooden and round, and you shouldn't slap it on your ass unless you're a woman. That's fine if you can do that. It still should be wooden and round, though. But anyway, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, I don't know what you were trying to lead me to say. Okay, what were you trying to lead me to say? I don't know.
She thinks you remember everything you say. That's part of the problem.
No, you guys know that.
She knows more about you than you do.
You know, I'm fuzzy.
I'm fuzzy.
There it is.
We're all
fuzzy. Ding. I'm going to have a fuzzy ding thing.
Yeah.
However many times you say fuzzy, we're going to keep a counter.
Okay.
Okay.
That's my excuse for everything. That's like, I do not recall. I'm fuzzy about a lot of things.
Hey, speaking of producing, you produced a set in Nashville, once again in the Christian genre, but you somehow got around that a little bit. City on a Hill is what I'm talking about. And you had a #1 song on that record, and you went on, did you go on to produce 3 more of those?
Yeah, I produced 4 albums in that series called City on a Hill. And it was a concept that I'd come up with. I pitched the whole thing to the label. I had called it Holy Communion, was my idea that I pitched to the label. And they're like, we can't sell that to the Bible Belt. That sounds way too Papist. You know, so
they were
Holy
right.
Communion. So yeah, I'm sure they're right. I'm sure they're right about that. But you know, that was what I did. I did that in my 40s, and it was like 5 years of work doing those 4 albums. And it was the only thing I'd ever done that was you'd call big budget, and it was the only thing I'd ever done that was commercially successful. And it was great. I mean, it was great to have that song God of Wonders that I wrote with my friend Marc Byrd was caught the wind and was very successful. And they even sang it in the space shuttle and up in space. That was kind of a thrill.
Yeah,
But
that's pretty
that
cool.
song, that's how it is with songwriting. You know, I have like 300 songs on albums, something like that. And that one is the one song that put my kids through college and everything.
Yeah.
Right. And so so even though I've spent a lifetime trying to get out of Christian music, that was the one thing that did succeed for me commercially. And I really was making an honest record at that time. I was 40, and I really felt it was from the heart. It was I couldn't even believe it did succeed and sell, but it did. And I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful. I really like that song, God of Wonders. It could have been, I tried to get a Ford commercial, almost got one time. It could have been the thing that put my kids through college. You know, you just don't know. But I'm thankful it's that song. I don't, of the songs that you would call Christian songs or worship songs, I've written many of those. And of those, I couldn't sing all of them anymore. My theology has evolved, and I've deconstructed in a lot of ways, like a lot of people. I've been on a path, but I feel good about that song. I feel like the Native Americans 300 years ago on this planet, right? I mean, on this country, right here under the ground where I'm here, there's a lot of that, you know, right here in Tennessee. I mean, where I'm sitting right now, Native Americans could have sang that song, God of Wonders, never even in Jesus, you know, never even knowing thousands of years ago, you know, and not even having any way to know who Jesus is or anything. But I feel it's God of Wonders, beyond our galaxy, you are holy. The universe declares your majesty, you are holy. Early in the morning, I will celebrate the light. And when I stumble in the darkness, I will call your name by night. You know, it's like the soul of every creature has cried out to God since the beginning of time. And that's, there's somebody out there, you know, and there's somebody in here. I feel that strongly, but no, I'm off on it.
No, that's
anyway.
That's
I'm
a very
cute.
universal way to put it. And
I'm just, you know, I'm one of those stargazers. My kids and I end up in the driveway at least once a week, looking at all the, you know, seeing where all the planets are and everything. But that song, to me, I'm happy that song for you is authentic, since it's the one that's the most successful for you, you know, financially.
Right.
I'm glad that came, you know, that was an authentic song for you.
Absolutely.
That warms
I
my
feel
heart.
real good about it. Yeah.
Because, you know, you hear the horror stories of people whose successful songs are ones they hate. That would suck.
Absolutely. So I feel good about it, and thankful to Marc Byrd, who, you know, brought me he was strumming it, and he was singing a lot of the melody and some of the words too. And I brought it home. We brought it home together, and I'm forever grateful for him for that. And we share that success. So it's a lucky, it's, you know, that's what it's,
collaboration.
Yeah. Well, that's just the thing with songwriting, though. You just have to keep trying. You can't, you know, I'm so, you can't be after that. People were like wanting to co-write with me all the time. Let's write another God of Wonders. Let's get another. And I quickly became unmotivated by that. And I wasn't soon after that I got out of that. I quit that publishing deal, and I quit trying to do that. I couldn't write for those purposes. I couldn't say, let's target. I couldn't target those songs to try to get a hit or try to get another worship song. I just couldn't do it. It shriveled my soul doing all those co-writes. I did have 10 years of publishing deal where I would have to deliver my 12-song quota every year, which is a lot of songs. It doesn't seem like it when you go, oh, I'll do that. But then those are co-writes. So there's one person, if you co-wrote it, that you're half of a song. If it's three people involved, it's a third of a song. It ends up being a lot of songs. And then
you're shoved in a room with somebody you maybe have never met. Sometimes.
Most of the time. Yeah, they set you up. In my case, they would tend to like put me with a writer, and they sign a young band, and they okay, these guys need help with their songs, and they put them with an older guy like me to help them out with their song. And I enjoyed that. I enjoyed it to some degree, but I would always want to write the song about, like I said, you know, oh, we had to put our dog down to sleep. Me and my wife are so bummed out. Well, let's write about that. Let's not try to get a song on Jackie Velasquez's album. You know, let's just write about what we're feeling. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that comes back to the authenticity you were talking about before.
Mhm.
And as you started with success, what really deems success, but I feel really truthfully, it is authenticity in the end. As a musician and as a writer or songwriter, whatever you're doing in the business, I will say this, Beth and I, just being in the business, one of the things that helps us is that we're sisters. And people kind of feel more safe with us or something. I don't know what it is, but when you have, when you have somebody that you're working with that is that way, people feel that and they know if you're honest. You and Doherty have a long history of working together from the choir, and you still work together today. So I know you understand what that means and how, I mean, that relationship, how has that relationship been for you and you and Derry over the years? You're still doing it.
Yeah, 19th. You said your 19th album's coming out.
We just finished it. We just heard the master yesterday. We're so excited about it. It was challenging to make because of what happened with the virus and all that. So we started it, and then that happened, and then Derry got really sick, not related to the virus, but something else happened to him, and he ended up in the hospital for a few days and was pretty bad shape. I had a pretty scary car accident and could have died, and so we had some drama in there, and so we came back. The album was sort of like done in two parts, one pre the virus and then we brought it home, stretched out over several months, and very happy about it, very excited about it. It won't be released or, until probably after the, February or something like that, because the vinyl takes so long. Now vinyl is such a big deal and we got to wait for the vinyl, but it takes about 2 months to get it back. So,
yeah, that vinyl plant burned down out here.
Oh, really? Oh, right,
yeah,
right.
Vinyl plant that burned down. Yeah.
We get our vinyl done in Czech Republic.
There you go.
But yeah. But it's so exciting, and I'll tell you what, Derry, we're so different than each other. We're so different, and sometimes we get probably exasperated with each other. But right. But look, we've made music for 35 years, and he sang so great. I mean, for an old guy, he's like way older than me. No, it's just funny because he's like 13 months older than me. So there's that there's 1 month when he's like 2 years older than me. And I always make a big deal about it. I go, man, Derry, wow. I go, they're 62. That is just, man, I thought 60 was bad, but 62, you got to be kidding me, dude. You're so old. It's so stupid, but he sang really well. His voice is still great, and he sang great and he played great, and very proud of the album. So we know how to write songs together after all this time, and we like what each other does. So
yeah, that's nice.
Yeah,
that's nice. There's a lot of breakups in this industry with people working together. You don't find that as often anymore. And I think
that's the whole secret is longevity is just like kind of letting things go. You have to just realize, okay, this person's going to be like this. Yeah. You can't change them. I think it's like marriage is that way, right? At some point you're going to have to go, I accepted this person how they are. I'm not going to keep trying to change them because they're not going to.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you have to learn to communicate and sometimes apologize a lot. But you have to have mercy on me, mercy on you. And I think the reason that we've survived is that we've been merciful to each other. Dan Michaels too is the three of us.
You also go to different houses at night. That helps.
Right,
You
I'm
don't
sure
get
it
that in a
does.
marriage.
True. Unless you go on tour, then it's different when you're on tour and you're in a van and you're sharing a hotel room.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Back in the
Right,
day, my marriage was best when I was touring.
Yeah.
FYI.
He's talking about being in a van with Derry, and yeah, that's true.
Derry just
You
goes-
guys did
Derry
spend
just-
a lot of time together, I guess. So
He just takes the back seat and sleeps. That's all Derry does. Lays in the back seat and sleeps all day.
I'm texting him today when we're done and telling him that we will be interviewing him as well.
he was worried
Oh,
he
good.
might get his feelings hurt, but
I know.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
why she's
Good
worried about
luck.
that.
Good luck
I
getting him.
know,
You think he'll,
no
you think he'll
kidding.
show up?
I don't know if he will. But anyway,
He won't.
I asked him a question the other day about, he engineered Crumbacher's first album.
Right.
And-
Incandescent. Right.
Incandescent. And I sent him a text because my son Chris wanted to know what equipment he used for something way back then. He's like, hey, can you ask Derry? Because I was listening to this and I want to know. And he remembered. He got right back to me with like
he'll tell you. It might not be the truth, but he'll make it up if he doesn't remember.
Well, that's true. That's for sure. But I tell you what, he's a great engineer. He's always been so good at the technical side of things.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, I never learned how to do any of that stuff. I still can't. I mean, I struggle to find the light switch every time. I can't work anything. But he works all the gear, and he's a great engineer. He's a musical soul. That's what he is. He's a musical soul. And great ears, great musician, great engineer. Yeah.
I wanted to say that the longevity of your band and being authentic to yourselves, I do know that your fans are very loyal and they stay with you. And I was going to say, marketing people study this and try to figure out how to do it. And you guys really have the formula, you know what I mean? And bands don't always understand that. I will say for us, once again, in my band, we did release those singles that they wanted to go to radio, and they did, but you guys stayed within, and that wasn't that partially, I'm not saying that was wrong or right, because it wasn't my decision. It was the songwriter, his decision, but that's fine. I'm not faulting him either.
He's perfectly fine
It
with
was just
Dawn.
a different, huh? Yeah,
And he is
I
perfectly
wasn't
fine with the choice he made. I'm
right.
just saying
He
that
still is. So
there's differences in
Right.
what you are authentic to yourself too.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
There is
So-
nothing wrong with that.
no,
Yeah.
me being in the band, I was not the songwriter at that time. So
Mhm.
I understand that he wanted to be true to what his vision and goals were. But I'm just pointing out that there are different ways that people go. We still have very loyal fans as well, but you guys are still playing regularly. And I want to stress that to people that are listening. Please go listen to the choir, and the authenticity, you will hear it in their music. And you will laugh, as I just said, I did when I was listening. And you will cry also because pardon?
You'll cry.
No. Steve,
There's
I want to
don't-
ask you about, you will cry. Speaking of
Well-
crying, your album prior to this, Bloodshot, I know that was a very close album to your heart. Can you tell us anything about that you would want to divulge? You don't have to say much, but
all the albums are close to my heart. Okay, but
I understand.
and I do like the point that you made. I've often told people, if you don't cry when you write a song, no one's going to cry when they hear it. And I do. I often cry when I write songs. I get emotional and I feel it. It comes from a true place. But you're probably referring to that I was divorced. I was married 34 years and went through and ultimately ended in divorce. And I talk about it on the Bloodshot album. And it's painful. I mean, I still love Nancy very, very much. And it's not acrimonious, but that was a big deal. 34 years, and it's it's too personal I'm not going into it. Nancy's a very private person, and actually she never did like that she was a topic of a lot of our songs, being such a private. I'm open as you could be and transparent as you could be. I guess it helps. It's a good feature if you're going to be a songwriter. songs are a good place to hide your secrets, somebody said, but that's a, anyway, I did talk about it on that album. And then I promised never again will I talk about that in any songs. We'll see. But this new album, life goes on. Here we are, and I got there's songs about romance and stuff, and got a girlfriend in Cincinnati, So, there's songs about her, and so
wow, nice.
life goes on,
Yeah.
life goes on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can
And
I say?
I understand that. Knowing songwriters, some that I know very well, sometimes I'll just ask them, hey, when I listen, I think that's about, and usually the ones I ask are very private, and they'll go, well, you figure it out.
Right.
Dawn and I over the years we probably know more than a lot of people. I think we know more on some of the songs than even Derry, because we were stupid enough to ask sometimes, what's that song about?
Yeah.
And sometimes you tell us a little bit, not everything, I'm sure. But one of the things about you, Steve, that always is remarkable to me is how you're such a great lyricist, and you're so good with just the way you use words. You're so good that I think a lot of people always assume that everything you say is an allegory and is not true. Sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't. You'll throw things in there that are actual things. And people, I think, that don't really, know every intimate detail of your life. Not that I know every intimate detail of your life, but I think a lot of people just assume that. But you're able to do that, weave, I know that's one of your favorite words, weave in and out of there with those things that are true and those things that are a little bit more, of an allegory. And you've done that, and you're able to lay out your heart and not, and do it in a way that nobody can pinpoint exactly what is what. And I don't know, have you started out that gifted? How much you had to work at that? How did that, what were your first songs like when you were 18, 20 years old?
Well, I think that's really true, what you're saying, that you can hide. I love the metaphor thing, because you can really say brave things, dangerously honest things, and then kind of mask them in metaphor. And also, I think an important point, Beth, is that I want people to make the songs their own. Mm-hmm. So, because everyone's going through, the most personal things are the most universal. So most of us are going through the same stuff in one way or another. And so I would want them to hear it and feel their own relationship, their own journey, their own struggle. And I don't want to be so specific as to take that opportunity away from them. So, and also in a song, you can have hyperbole, you can have poetic license, you can, I think people that writers that write, probably, Don would know people that write for TV and so forth. They probably have a lot of their own lives in those stories, not exactly detail to detail, but they're drawing from their experiences. And so a lot of times songs they take on, I'm not being completely literal all the time. But basically, I'm just retelling you what you just said, I think. The first song I ever remember, the earliest song I remember was, I was 5 years old, and it was Little Duck waddled with his feet so hot, with his feet so hot, with his feet so hot. Little Duck waddled with his feet so hot, trying to get to the water. Oh. That's the first thing I remember. 5. So it was sensual. There was movement. There was action. There was pain. There was nature. There was suffering. He was suffering. He was on the quest for water, and there was alliteration. Waddled to the water. It was genius already. I don't know.
Steve, how do you remember that? Does your mom remember that, or you just carried that with you? Is that?
Yeah, I just remember words.
Why you know that?
I don't know why I know it. I remember words. I have a weird brain, because there's a lot of things I don't remember at all. Like when we talk about, remember that gig, that place we played, that warehouse? Derry remembers everything. I don't remember any gigs. I don't remember anything. I remember the faces, people, but if someone says something to me, I remember conversations. Really
I remember
clearly.
getting lost going to Derry's house we had dinner and we were going back to Derry's house. I was driving, you were driving your car, and we get back to Derry's house and I'm like, "Where's Steve?" He said, "He's lost." I'd
Well,
only
I
been there
can't get
once,
anywhere.
and you were like gone.
No, it's terrible. It's not funny. It's like, it's
It
terrible.
is
It's
funny.
like,
It's
it's
funny.
terrible to be like this. I have no sense of direction. I open closet doors trying to get out the front door. Literally, it's just, I don't have any sense of direction, and it's difficult. It's a very difficult way to be.
But your
Um,
words are stuck in there. There's like cemented.
well, I think of a lot of the songs when I'm driving.
That's
I
what I
mean,
was going to ask.
literally, I will be
You
thinking of a
daydream.
song, and then I can remember the entire lyric. If I think of a lyric in my head, I can remember all the verses, the chorus. I can keep the whole thing in my head and pull it up, and then go home and type it all out. And but I
Wow.
can't.
Goodness.
But the problem is, I don't know where I'm going, and then I end up somewhere, and I'm like, where am I? And you know, if it wasn't for GPS, that
Yeah.
saved my life. Now that's just been this wonderful
You'd be in the middle of the
miracle
woods
in my
somewhere.
life. That thing would just say, "Go home," you know. Oh, thank God. You know, I would,
Wow.
when we would travel in places like Europe or different places, where we'd get to wander all about alone, I would always just get the hotel card. Then I
Mm.
could go and wander anywhere, and then I could go to the cab and say, "Take me home, take me to the hotel," you know, give them the address.
Mm.
No, I have a different kind of mind. Really intelligent in some ways, I guess, but really, really fucking dumb in a lot of ways. Really bad.
You can't have it
So
all.
scary. Like scary. My wife used to say, senility is going to be a smooth transition for you, Steve.
When one of your daughters gets the call, he's wandering around. They're like, "How is this any different?" He's been doing that his whole life.
It's
Wandering
terrible.
down the street.
Yeah.
We'll have to put a GPS on your butt.
Well, if you can laugh, you may as well. I always say, but sometimes it's really frustrating. But
So what do you ingest? What do you read, listen to? You know, what is something that feeds you?
I don't know. I tend to get into certain music at a certain time and listen to it over and over, and it's usually something fairly current. Like right now, I like the War on Drugs and Kurt Weill. Those Philadelphia bands. I just love it. I love it. I listen to it all the time. But it's just different things. I got into Pete Yorn for a while, or whatever it is, I get into something and just really, I like new stuff. I mean, some memory lane. If it's going to be memory lane, it's going to be some soulful thing. It's going to be Marvin Gaye or Al Green or Sade or something like that. I like soulful stuff just for relaxed, feel good music. But when it comes to I want to listen to a record, it's going to be something fairly current. I don't read a lot like I used to, like everybody else. Netflix is so great. All these series are just so great. It takes up so much of our time. It's hard to sit down and read a book.
But that's input. That's still input.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like right now, I'm reading a book called The Power of Now. Have you ever read that?
Mm-mm.
Really
No.
liking it. It's and I only read a couple pages every night. It's almost like a devotional to me, because it's just about being in the present and realizing that, because I really struggle with the reliving the past, regret, a lot of regret, really struggle with just going back there and fantasizing about reliving. What if I didn't do this? What if I didn't do that? What if I could have that conversation again? What if I could, and that's pointless. That's just pointless. That doesn't serve anybody. But I do that a lot. And the other thing is, a lot of people just they're always what it's going to be the future, and they stress and they worry about the future. And the real secret of just finding peace in the moment, right where you are right now, because that's where we are. That's all we know for sure.
Right.
So I'm liking that book. Yeah.
That's really good advice right there that you just said.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it?
It is. And if you focus on the future right now, it's hard to see what's coming, and we don't know.
You waste now. So the
Yeah,
future.
right. And I've really been trying that. I can't even touch my granddaughter right now, but as it goes on more and more, I'm like realizing there's other ways to communicate and be with her. And it's forcing me to do that without touch. And it's like, I'm learning so much. I'm trying to, instead of getting down about it and crying about it, where I'm thinking I'm
Right.
going to lose something in this time, I'm more thinking, how can I make a positive impact on her without touching her? And so, right now I live with my parents, and I am taking in every moment because I won't have them forever.
Right.
So,
That's
you
right.
know, I'm really trying to live that way. I'm not always good at it either. It's never been my forte. I'm headed somewhere, or I'm thinking about the past and I'm all bummed out. So I agree with you, Steve. That's a really good outlook to have. I'm going to check out that book.
Yeah.
Thank you for mentioning that.
Eckhart Tolle.
I wanted to
Eckhart
ask you
Tolle.
one more thing about lyrics.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, Eckhart Tolle. Yeah. Awesome. I want to ask you one more thing in specific to your songs. You have 19 albums, 300 songs. I know this is the hardest question in the world. So it's not like, do you have a favorite? Can you just throw out some of your favorite songs based on, what it was about for you, or the time, or that sort of deal? List some of those, just so our listeners can go check some of those out.
Wow, that's hard.
I like Circle Slide.
Yeah, well, people like that. That was back in 1990. It's a good album. I really like an album called Burning Like the Midnight Sun that we did. It was a very good time in our lives, and I remember my marriage was really going well at that time, and there was a real warmth to it. Tim Chandler was playing bass. He passed away a couple of years ago, our bass player, and it was a very good season in his life. So that album, I think it's about 12 years ago, maybe. It's I don't know, that one, Burning Like the Midnight Sun, is my personal favorite, I think.
Nice.
But I don't know. I can't do it. I just can't.
You can't. Okay, it's okay.
I can't do it.
Beth, do you want to mention any favorites? You have a lot.
Well, so many.
I know.
She's All Right is one of my favorites. That's the one I just can't listen to because I was.
Which one?
She's All Right.
Oh.
Yeah.
What album was that? Flap Your Wings album? No, that wasn't Flap Your Wings. That was
the one that came out in 2005.
Mighty. Oh, How the Mighty Have Fallen.
How the Mighty Have Fallen. Yes.
Yeah, I love that whole album, but that one I picked it up. You guys mailed it to me. I picked it up at the post office driving home. By the time I got back, I was living with my parents. I was separated at the time, but I was just weeping. And I remember Derry had, I don't know how long it had been since his divorce, but I remember listening to it going, how did he sing that?
Right. Yeah, it was about a different couple. It was about a different friend of ours. Yeah.
Right. It wasn't about him, but how did he sing that? I know how much he cares for his ex-wife. And I was like, and I called him, I was like, how did you do that? And he's like, I'm a professional. What? Like, I'm like, okay, I don't even, cause I'm still weeping, like, cause I'm going through it at that time. And it was such a lovely song to me, your compassion for this woman, who's a friend of yours, that just, the optimism in this awful place, but the optimism of she's gonna be okay, and that man made an impact on me.
Comes a time for tears in the dark. No need to fake it. Yesterday her eyes were shining stars. I know she'll make it. She's alright. She's alright now. Flying over mountains, coming through the clouds. She's alright, like an eagle in the wind. I know she's gonna make it.
Oh, so
And if
thanks
you
for
don't wanna-
sharing that. Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for sharing that. I'm so glad. Yeah, and she is doing really well. The person
Good.
that I wrote that to, she is all right.
I want to say that the marriage of your lyrics and Derry's voice, because his voice has always been so soothing to me. Mercy Lives Here, I like a lot. Just
Derry
because,
wrote that lyric, by the way. Derry wrote that lyric.
I know he did. I know he did.
Right, yeah.
I like so many that you've written, but I love the context of that song, because to me that is really, as we talked about earlier, it, how do I say this easily? It's not about my religion, my faith, whatever. It's more about what you do in moments like that, when you walk
Mhm.
into a bar and there are people there that are needy. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And if people can have compassion on people around them, we're going to all do better.
Well, that
Right.
mercy
Well,
has been a theme that's gone through a lot of your
It is,
songs.
yeah, that has been the theme, and that's one thing about Derry. He's a very, very kind-hearted, caring person. He's got a very tender heart. But the thing about Derry's voice, what you're saying, his voice is so, it goes down so easy. It's a soft, not an edgy voice. It's a very, so you can say anything. I can say anything, and like I could say, dig the dog a grave in the garden. Line like that, dig the dog a grave. It should be like if it was a guy going, dig the dog a grave in the garden. It's like, but Derry's dig the dog a grave. You know, you can say, you can
Yeah.
really write pretty intense lyrics, and they just kind of go by. It's like kind of like a spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down.
yeah.
You know,
That's given you some freedom then in that sense, a little bit.
it has. Yeah,
Huh.
it is, and
Interesting.
yeah.
Hmm.
One more thing I don't want to forget to mention, you have solo project. You have at least one. Do you have two?
I did 2 solo albums.
You
Yeah.
did. Okay, so tell me a little bit. You don't consider yourself a singer, or do you?
Oh no, I'm a singer, but I don't consider
Okay.
myself a good singer. I tell people I sing. I sound like Neil Young, only not as good. But some people think that's especially funny because they don't like Neil Young's voice. But I don't. People that don't like his voice, they can't be my friend.
It's so classic. So,
But no,
yeah.
I mean, you know, I have a character voice. You know, I like to sing, and I sing in tune and all that. But I don't. It's just kind of a little quirky voice. What can I say? I like to sing, and most shows I'll sing one song
Yeah.
or something like that. And out of all our albums, so I did 2 solo albums. I did one called Skinny in '97, and I did one 2 or 3 years ago called The Warbler.
Hmm.
And sometimes I just have enough songs accumulate that are my own that I don't know. I like to sing them.
Yeah. Nice.
But I don't want to be a front man. When I've had those seasons where, okay, now you got to go promote your record and I'll do 10 or 12 gigs, it's absolutely terrifying for me. I don't feel comfortable up front. I'm still too nervous. If I snap a string, I'm done. Gig over. I don't know what to do. So,
Right on stage.
yeah, let me just sit
Like
back.
a
No fear. Drums is a safe place. Let me tell you, there's no fear there. I love doing it. Never, ever been afraid. Put me up front with the guitar. I'm scared to death. So no need to do that. But I
You're a
mean,
male
every
Karen
band has,
Carpenter.
what?
You're a male Karen Carpenter. Karen
Oh,
Carpenter, they had to drag her out from behind that drum set.
oh, really? She's a good drummer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's a nice spot to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, nice. I just wanted to remember to mention that because you have done some of your own recordings, and wow, we've gone a bit of a time. Beth, is there anything else we should go over before we say goodbye?
Advice. I know whenever anybody asks me, like, can you give me advice about being in the music industry? What I say is don't. Just don't do it. Don't do it. That's my first thing of advice. If you can get past telling you not to do it, then maybe you should do it. But you should probably have another job lined up to pay your bills.
Well, I mean,
What's your advice for artists, producers?
The cliche of all cliches is what you just alluded to. Don't quit your day job. The chances are of it paying and making a living are not good in the arts. Don't give up. Don't do it. Don't be motivated by that. That shouldn't be the reason. Songs are an offering. Music is an offering. Painting, you paint a painting, like some people, they paint a painting and they give it as a gift. Or some people, maybe you sell your painting for $100, $200 somewhere, and then people take it home and where are they going to hang it? In the living room? Not even put it up, just put it in their garage. You don't have control. You let it go. Not very many people sell their paintings for thousands. Make the art as an offering. Artists are the lovers of the world and the risk takers of the world. Do it, by all means, do it, and find the courage to do it. Write the song and play it for somebody. That is a great thing about a church playing there. You can play it in front of the church. Play it for that. Just do it. But it's if you do it for the purpose of making a living, I think that the odds are that you're not going to be happy. And the other thing is that to compete with other people, it's not a competition. I don't believe in competition of the arts. I remember that Woody Allen didn't go receive he wouldn't go when it was Hannah and Her Sisters, I think it was. He was back there winning, best movie all the time back in the 80s. Or might have been, I don't forget it was, but it's like Woody Allen wouldn't go and get the award because he didn't believe in the competition of the arts. And I thought of that. That's true. It is kind of stupid competing. Best actress, best song, best. You'll never be happy if you have that mindset of competing with other people. If you make a song that you want to hear and you like it, I mean, that should be your goal, and you'll find joy. You'll find joy in making art and offering it. People like us that get to do it our whole lives, it's just longevity is we're beating the odds, beat a lot of odds. And other than that, I had that success with that song, God of Wonders. We haven't had any commercial success, hardly any of my peers either. Great guys, the guys in Lost Dogs, Mike Rowe, Terry Taylor. These guys, there's just not, we have not been commercially successful, but we've gotten to do it. And I'm thankful for that. I'm so thankful for getting to do it. I don't know.
The experience is the success.
Yeah. And getting to travel too. Being in a band. What?
Yeah. He said, if the experience is not the success for you, don't do it.
That's true. That's profound, Beth. Yeah. That is. Yeah.
And I have to say, I remember I knew you in college. We talked about that. So I'll
yes.
Back around. You were playing drums in the girl band I was in, and Nancy was in that band.
The ladies' choir. It was a ladies' choir.
It was the ladies' choir. And I will say this, Steve, I do remember this about you. You are a kind soul as well, because I was away from my parents. They were overseas and I was lonely, and you would find me sometimes sitting somewhere while all the girls are off doing stuff. And I bet Nancy felt this way too, because I kind of remember her, but I didn't want to participate in all that girly stuff. And they were very competitive. And if I got a solo, I heard about it the next couple of weeks, somebody was upset and the director likes you better and all this stuff. And I just remember you and the band were all very kind to me, and I'm a keyboard player. So I would come over and sit with him and kind of tinkle around, or I'd just be sitting watching you guys warming up, and you guys were always very kind to me. So I remember that from way back.
Oh.
But starting back then, where was I going with when we all started? I had bands that I was into before I knew anybody. And one of them was Terry Taylor and Daniel Amos. And I'm friends with him now. And I will also say, as something that you gather along the way are the friends in the music business, and people that have been doing it as long as you have. And so I have that. Those are treasures in my heart. Beth has them as well. And I know, Steve, that you treasure that and you have them as well. So in addition to doing that with your art, just understand who's around you and be thankful that you are around amazing creators.
We're all very lucky.
Yes.
It
Yes.
it is a great blessing. The treasured friends is the greatest of the blessings, actually. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Another tremendous reward. And also in our case, all our fans, not all, but so many of them
Yes.
are not
Yep.
fans, they're friends.
Mhm.
I've seen their kids grow up. Because we've traveled, our audience is so small, it really is small, but we can play in almost every city in this country and have a little house full of people. And I know their faces. Every city that I go to, I wonder if so-and-so is going to be there. We look forward to those faces. And I don't know, they're red states, blue states. I don't know who they voted for. I mean, before Facebook, none of us would have known or cared or asked.
Right.
And
This was important.
no, it wasn't important. And I've known them, I've seen their parents, known their parents to die, and some of them, their children die, and then gone through all kinds of things in life, seen their kids when they were born, and now they sit in the concert and they're in their late 20s or whatever. I really love these people,
Yeah.
and that is just, it's like almost like a congregation. It's like like when I drop an album on people that, another 12 songs, it's almost like they're like my congregation or something. But I don't preach to them. I don't preach. I just offer whatever. It's my offering to them.
Yeah.
Hopefully it gives them hope and makes them cry, makes them laugh and all that, and makes us feel like a community, brings us together. I think so much right now is that what's lost in this terrible political climate and divisive nature that we found ourselves in this country. We've forgotten about our commonality as people. We have so much in common, and that is still going to be my message. I don't want to get in a fight. I don't want to fight with people. There's enough of that. Enough people doing that. Go ahead, people. You want to fight? I don't know. I care for people, and I wish that we would see that we have a lot in common, and don't always have to throw a dirt cloud over somebody's wall, Anyway.
No, that's a great.
Common than what divides us, I think, honestly.
Yes.
Yes,
We just need to
it's
stop
true.
focusing on what divides us. Focus on what we have in common.
It's true, and hopefully that's what we're here to do. What's one thing we're here to do?
Sing song about the Russians. I really hope pray the Russians love their children too.
Right.
Remember that song and going, of course they do. Of course, that's
right.
the commonality.
Right.
That's a great way to end today. I appreciate it, Steve. Thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate you as Beth does, and we're so glad to have you here today. To those who are listening, don't forget, we're at amatterofmusic.com. We have a lot of things to offer you. We have free podcasts, free lunch and listen, and different things. We also have classes if you're interested in pursuing some things with your music in the music biz. But overall, we want to say today, please go listen to the choir. We'll put the links in our description, and they'll have new fans from this. I know they will.
I was going to say, you can tip us. You can buy their records and then tip us for
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
I'm glad you guys are still at it, still in the game, still stirring things up out there. I'm so glad to see that.
Falling to our grave doing this.
Yeah.
We don't know anything else.
Well, we love it, and we love artists and music as well. So we like to help, and we're having a blast. So thank you,
Good.
Steve.
Good.
Yeah.
Hey, this is a Jimmy Abig painting. Jimmy Abig, a friend of mine, a painter.
I was looking at that. Nice.
Right?
Jimmy A.
Oh
Jimmy
my
A,
goodness.
It's called the Hindalong Loop.
You helping build his studio. I watched.
Yeah, I was in the backyard. Yeah,
What
I was in
is
his
that
backyard.
called, Steve? What did he call it?
He called it the Hindalong Loop. Look. Can you see this?
Huh.
Wait. Does it say? Can you even see this?
Yeah. Yep. Hindalong Loop. Jimmy A. 2016 oil on Polish linen, Nashville,
Right.
Tennessee.
There you go.
Geez.
What a treasure you have.
Yeah, I picked it out when it was just, he had the black lines, and then he asked me, what colors do you want? That was back when before he was so blind. He's pretty blind now. So his painting style has changed. But
he's still at it.
He's still at it. He's a special guy, special friend. Well, thanks you guys for thinking of me.
That's
And
awesome.
Thank
I think
you.
I'll go. You guys had Ojo Taylor.
Yep.
Also, and I can go find that. I want to watch his
We had
thing.
Ojo, we had Reggie Ham, we had Mike Rowe.
Oh, you had Mike. Oh, well, where do I
Yeah.
go and see that? Where do I go see these podcasts?
You can go to
I'll send you- Yeah.
amatterofmusic.com, and we have a podcast tab on there. You can go find it there. You can search for us on YouTube or any Spotify, anywhere you listen to podcasts. We are A Matter of Music. We're pretty new.
Matterofmusic.com.
Matterofmusic.com.
Awesome.
There you
All
go.
right. I'm gonna go check it out. See, I'm advertising your thing for you. You're
I
on
know.
your thing.
Plug away. Plug away. Thank you so much.
Thank
Love you.
Steve.
All right. Well, I love you guys.
Love you too. Bye.